Good morning, boys and girls. So, what we're going to be doing, hi Gio. What we're going to be doing today is we are going to be painting landscapes using only one color. So, we've already learned what a landscape is. You've already learned the three components: foreground, middle ground, background. Now, and you've also learned your color values going from the normal color all the way to light. Now, what we're going to be doing here is you're going to be painting an entire landscape only using one color. Now, the way we're going to do that is I am going to allow you to have black in your palette if you're painting. If you are using colored pencils, you're just going to have to use the colored pencil. I don't think you can really add black successfully, but you can try. But otherwise, we are simply going to be painting this now with only one color. So there's a couple rules. First thing, with a landscape, the parts that are furthest in the back, so your background is the lightest color, the middle ground is the middle tone, and the front is like the darkest or brightest colors, if you will. And how we do that is simply by you're going to do a big wash, like adding a lot of water to your color for back here, a little bit less water, and then this is going to be your normal color. Now, with this normal color, what you can do is, this is supposed to be where all your detail is, which is why they want the normal colors. So you can see like the shadows and you can see like all the different colors that exist. So let's hop right into it and we'll get going. First, I'm going to start with my background. Now, when we start with the background, I am going to add some water to my color. Up here, you can see in my top palette right up here. Then I'm adding a lot of water. So I'm going to do my sky. And actually, I think that might even be a little bit too dark for my taste personally for sky. So I'm just only going to be using blue. So we want to fill this up. Add a little bit more water. Now, since the sky is the very furthest point, that is going to be our lightest color where you can barely even see it. That's how I want it to be. Now, the mountains can be a little bit darker. So you see that there's definitely a contrast between the sky and the mountain. So now if you start using it, you see these little transition lines. All you have to do is simply just blend it in. Add a little water to your brush and you can blend it right in. Get right down to my edges. Always paint to your edges. That's what my art teacher used to tell me when I was a kid in school. I would never paint to my edges. I was actually very lazy as an art student sometimes. And I would never paint to my edges. Now, as an adult, every single piece of art that I make, I'm always telling myself, paint to your edges, paint to your edges. Now, I'm doing a very quick painting here. The one I want you to be detailed. And I don't want you really going outside your lines. I want you to try to stay in and stay focused. So you have to stay in your lines here and try not to make too much of a mess. And we don't want to make sure you don't get too dark here. So see, I have these little trees here. I got to make sure I get right in the gaps like this. Just like that. Now what I'll do is I'll maybe make this one just a little bit darker. All right, now we're getting into the middle ground now. And I want this to be just a little bit darker. So instead of actually adding black, I'm not going to add black until the very end. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to get as close to the natural color as I can, but still make it a little bit lighter. you can see that there's still a contrast there. These are a little bit darker. So now we have to worry about the grass next. Now with the trees, what you can do is if you want to separate them out a little bit, you can always take some paper towel like this and dab and lighten parts up like it's the sun hitting them or something like that. But as long as your colors are still, the values are still there, you can see, let's say our light's going to come from this side, so there we go. Now for the grass, or like the ground itself, this one I'm going to use a little bit bigger of a brush just because it's such a large area. But once again, you want to try to keep it darker than the background. So I'm going to add a little bit of blue. Now this is where you're really going to want to explore all the values of your color that you have to try to make this so I'm going to dab this with my paper towel, add some texture. Now also my trees cast a shadow, so we're going to take some more of this blue here. Add this going out that way. Like that. Now we'll say that this is going to be a stream, so I'm going to make this a little bit lighter. Now there's all kinds of cool little techniques you can to add texture and make it look more watery. One of the things that artists do is they'll take plastic and they'll put it over the top. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to run my paper towel down like this to sort of give it just a little bit again, paint to your edges. See how I'm being lazy? Now, as we get closer here, we can use our darker colors. And sort of blend it back as we go further back. Now I'm going to take the larger brush again, and I'm going to fill in the rest of this background, the middle ground right here. Okay, so middle ground is filled up. And actually, let's darken, just to create a little contrast between these 2 points. Because you really can't see it on your camera. I can see it clearly, but not everybody else can. Just because the light on my camera here washes a lot of this out. So you see now I have like a little bit of contrast between the water, between the land, and now I'm going into my foreground, which is just going to be a bush and a tree. Now here you can use your full range. You can try to get it as pure as you can, as bright as you can, like this. And at the same time, you can accommodate for your light source that's coming in from this direction. So what we do is we just add that color there, add some water. Just like that. So now you get a little bit of a bush here. And what I can also do is now I can start incorporating black. Now, the secret with black is this, is you cannot use a lot of black. If you use a lot of black, what's going to happen is it'll automatically fill up your entire palette of blue. Like your blue will become black, basically. It'll become super, super dark very, very quickly. So you don't need a lot. So the way you're going to do this is you're just going to take a teeny tiny bit and you're just going to put it in another well like this. And even that, it seems like an awful lot. But I'm going to add some blue. I'm going to put it over here. And now I'm just going to drag just a little bit of this color in here. Like that, and it'll make it just a little bit darker. So you can see I can start adding a little bit of shadow in here. Just like that. And since this is a bush, I want to add just a little bit of texture in there. Now for the tree trunk, I want this to be darker than the others. So I'm going to add a lot more black in there. And we'll start on the far side like this. Going up and down. Actually, let's use the bigger brush for this one. Add some more blue over here, get the black in. Now, notice I'm starting away from the light source. I'm starting at the darkest spot. Now, to get lighter, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little water to my brush. I'm just going to spread it over here like this. Then what I'll do is I will add some. Let me just adjust my camera here quickly so you can see. There you go. You can see maybe a little bit better. Sorry guys. I got a new web camera and it's stay right there. It's going to shift just a little bit. There we go. That's a little better. All right. So we have this. It's getting a little bit lighter. If you choose, you want to make this a little bit more blue to sort of match the whole theme, because it's kind of a different color entirely. You can do that. The black is still there, and then you can add your paper towel like this. Add some texture and blend it in a little bit if you like that. Now for the tree part, the leaves, just simply adding some water. Now, it's sometimes better if you start lighter and then build your darks up. Like this, and then you just dab and spread that over, soften it up a bit, and it's also going to be casting the shadow down. Then maybe what we'll do is we'll get a smaller brush here, add almost pure black. That'll really get us some nice contrast in here, like this. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see a big messy blob of black. And this is what's going to happen for some of you is you're gonna try this for the first time and you're going to overdo the black with your color and it's going to be too dark too quickly. So you got to be careful. So you can add like little lines like this, like it's the bark, like that, going through. And same thing, you can take some of this black if you want to get more contrast in your bush over here. Since this is the closest thing, it should have probably You see like how I dab at it like this with my brush. And what that's doing is it's creating like a little bit of a texture. Like that. So there we go. Now, if you want to, you can take a look and you can try to do a very, very light dark wash and stuff like that throughout, and maybe darken this just a little bit back here at the middle ground, creating some shadows and that sort of thing. But you don't want to get as dark as what you have up here. So that's the delicate game that you play there. You don't want to play around with it too much and get too dark, and then it takes away from the depth of your painting. So you want to try to go slowly and just take your time and be very careful with it. So I hope this explains it. And so let me just recap what you are going to be doing. You are going to be creating a landscape painting like this using only one color, and you can do a little bit of black. That is your job. And you have all week to do this, and if you need it in the next week, you can. But if you have any problems, please message me and let me know, and maybe I can try to help you out. Good luck and have fun.